Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, Uncanny X-Men issue number 6. All right, this was a really cool issue, man. Like, that's just real talk from beginning to end. Let's get into who made this. Matthew Rosenberg, Kelly Thompson, and Ed Brisson are the writers. Yildiray Cinar is the artist. Rachel Rosenberg is the color artist. VC's Joe Caramonga is the letterer. The cover artist is Elizabeth Torque, and we got variant cover artists John Tyler Christopher, another one by Isaac Ribbit, Esad Ribic, another one by J. Scott Campbell, and Sabine Rich. So X-Men were created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. That's the originals. Okay, so Jean isn't quite as confident in this issue as she has been in X-Men Red, which is really discerning. I miss Tom Taylor's take on, do you want to talk about alliteration? There you go. Tom Taylor's take on Jean Grey. She felt motherly. She felt warm. She felt perfect in X-Men Red, and she doesn't feel that way here. She seems, at least in her facial expression, she seems to be full of doubt and everything, and I'm not the biggest fan of it. I probably wouldn't have had a problem with it normally, but seeing the excellent portrayal in Taylor's X-Men Red, I miss it so much right now, man, and it really hits home seeing this version of her. Now, there are 3 writers here, but none of these writers can take time to focus on just any one character alone. So I understand, it is what it is, but I really do miss that take on Jean Grey. For me, that's the perfect version of Jean Grey. She was large and in charge, not overbearing, and just she radiated confidence, and I loved it, absolutely. So here we see Archangel is free of whatever, the mind control that he was under from, what's his face, X-Man. But, and that's all he wants to be called. He doesn't want to be called Nate anymore, just X-Man. So Archangel attacks Magneto. Magneto's just not having it, though, and he winds up teleporting himself out. He's like, you just made a huge mistake, bud. Genuinely. He gave him another chance. But this issue, we get to see that the horsemen of X-Man aren't actually bad guys, or at least they don't view themselves as so. So that was actually really not uplifting, I'd say, but it was nice being made aware of this. All right, it's cool to actually be able to understand in general what's going on here, where everybody feels that they fall on the chessboard. Everybody knows exactly what they are. But the question is, do you know if you're the black team or the white team? You know what I'm saying? Do you not fit that description at all? You know, what exactly is your moral compass here? Not your position, but your moral compass. What is it? So we finally get a good understanding that these heralds, not these heralds, these horsemen, they're not actually bad guys, at least not in their own minds, which kind of plays up to Magneto perfectly, right? But more so somehow here. It feels like there are bigger stakes involved because this is Magneto following somebody. I don't know about all by choice, but it seems mostly by choice. But what the hell do I know until he actually breaks free? It seems like this is mostly just him choosing to follow Nate, which is interesting. Magneto doesn't usually follow people, but it works here. So Nate Gray comes out to talk, and there's a really cool growing moment here because the X-Men decide to fight. Betsy Braddock has something to do with that, but Jean Grey did allow herself to have the gun jumped. It's like, okay, here's your chance to listen to reason, but the thing is with the X-Men, the way it's always been, and this plays perfectly into this issue, the way that X-Men have always been is, hey, let's talk and try to figure this out. But the problem is, that with the X-Men, if you don't see my side through talking, then we'll kick your butt. So it's a very, like, it's more potential energy than kinetic, but that kinetic is still there. Rather than dropping the boulder on your head, we're going to show you that the boulder's right on top of you, hold it, leaning precariously on that edge, and then tell you, listen, you should really join our side, otherwise that boulder is going to wind up falling on your head. You know, they make it passive. And we're like, yeah, but I don't really agree with you. Okay, drop the boulder. Like, that's been the X-Men for a really long time. That's my observation, at least. All right? They really do resort to violence way too quickly. One of the reasons why is they're always fighting amongst each other. You know, it's hard for them to be part of a huge cosmic conflict because even while they're off in space sometimes, oh, you said, what about my mother? Well, I said, yeah. And then they get into a fight. That sounds more like a Kung Fu theater movie, but you get my gist, I think. Anyhow, we do see, besides all the other stuff that happens in here, we get to see the young X-Men show up. And, thanks everybody in the comments who straightened me out on the idea that a lot of them were called the young X-Men at one point. I just remember Generation X specifically, especially most recently. Anyway, so Armor is freaking awesome in here. Armor pretty much does what Jean Grey was, you'd imagine, supposed to do. The thing is that not only does she do it, but she's also keeping her team in check. Like Landslide, I can't remember his name. I can never remember his name because I never really follow these guys that much. But Santos. Santos is like, man, we're going to kick your butt. It's like, whoa, stop. Okay, what we really want, and Nate Gray's not too stupid, X-Man's not so stupid that he doesn't understand exactly what's really happening here, but he is willing to have a conversation. He does seem to be willing to actually, at least he's not attacking, he's not threatening to attack, he's willing to turn his back to, in a show of trust to, or at least that's the way I take it, trust to Armor. The problem is Legion is with them. And when you're a hammer, you see all your problems as nails. So he comes up, he's like, I know how to deal with crazy people. You just got to kick their butt. Yeah, I think you are related to Professor X. Just saying. So he winds up screwing up for everybody. And all of the X-Men wind up getting transported into the Age of Apocalypse world. So that was actually interesting. Now, I did accidentally read. There wasn't like, a big deal about it. It's like it is what it is. But a lot of the comic books got shipped early. So I guess it's next week's comic books. Yeah, next week's comic books. I wound up reading Superior Spider-Man issue number 1. I wound up reading the next issue of Uncanny X-Men. That's issue number 7. I read a bunch of books that were supposed to come out next week. So I could give you spoilers for what's going to happen in next week's Uncanny X-Men. But I'm not a jerk, so I'm not going to. I'm absolutely not going to. Nobody's going to pry me privately or openly or whatever. It's not going to happen. I will, however, say that it's pretty much what you guys have been asking for. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I feel like it's what you guys have been asking for, judging by your comments and things like that. So, alumni, yeah, it looks like Uncanny X-Men is going in a pretty interesting way. That being said, I did like this comic book. In fact, I liked it a little bit more than I'm used to liking the Uncanny X-Men series. Issue number 6, man, it's funny that I had to get to that point. I had the exact same experience with Kelly Thompson's West Coast Avengers. Issue 6, which also came out this week, was just amazing. Best issue in the series. I think that this is also the best issue in this series as well, because there wasn't just mindless fighting, all right? You might get a lot of that in the next issue, but in this particular one, you get you just get not just a lot of talking, but talking that actually makes sense. It's these people trying to, parlay, trying to feel each other out, trying to recognize where each other stands, and seeing if reason can't actually transpire. Unfortunately, Legion is on the team of the young X-Men, and the older X-Men, well, they're just really caught up in their ways. I'm really hoping that by the time that all of this is over, Jean Grey and the other X-Men will recognize just how much they screwed up. All of them way too willing to get into an argument. You know what I'm saying? Pulling your gun too fast, itchy trigger finger, whatever you're going to call it, way too quick with the violence. Like, hey, listen, I'm getting ready to kick your butt, but I'm going to give you a chance to surrender first. That's basically what it is. Anybody remember The Godfather from WWE? He comes out and he's all like, man, I'm fixing to come over there and kick your ass. But I'm going to give you an opportunity. Rather than fight me, you can pick one of these fine hoes over here. Attitude Era, right? Gotta love it. So anyway, like, that's what this reminds me of. It's like, you can come over here and hang out with one of my girls, or we can get into a fight. Which one do you really want? Because I'm down for either. Like, that's what this issue, that's what the X-Men in general have felt like to me for a really long time. And this issue just kind of brought that out. Like, yeah, 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 absolutely. This almost confirms. So I feel like these writers, they've got a very similar mindset that I do to the way that the X-Men have been presented over the years. That they are, finger on the trigger, ready to go. Pistol grip pump on my hands at all, or in my lap at all times. One of those kind of things. Um, so this was a really good issue in the sense that these young X-Men, specifically Armor, she came out as a freaking superhero in a superhero comic book. I'm just saying. So definitely dug this one. Definitely recommending it for you guys. All right. Seriously, if any of you guys have fallen off the comic book before, this is a good one. This is a good one to jump back on with. It felt great to me. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.